Hey, it's Uncle Catfish. You're watching Potato Salad Radio Show. It's my pleasure to do this for you.
Talking about this Make.Do.Camp. I like everything that I've heard about it so far. I want to describe it as a little bit like summer camp for adults who are creatively inclined.
Yeah, and
am I way off base?
And it's actually for anybody. I'll back up and tell you where it came from.
Yeah.
So in California, I was sort of on a sabbatical for my life, and I was doing anything and everything that I could just to have new experiences and be curious and, figure out what people are doing and why they're doing it. And California is such fertile land for people doing cool things, and so many jobs that you never knew existed are happening there, and people are getting paid for it.
And why didn't you move there?
Don't remind me. So I found out about this camp through this internet wormhole I went down, and
I love those.
It was $1,400 in the mountains, off grid sort of go, and it was a bunch of business workshops. It was sort of for creative people, and it was you're exactly right. It was like a grown-up camp, in a YMCA camp, and I pitched myself as a podcaster and said, can I come and do a podcast about your camp and come for free? And for some reason they said yes, and which was extremely generous and fortuitous for me. And I went and I did, there's a couple of podcasts that I have posted from that experience. And it was so inspiring to me because, one, it was this intense 4 days of being without your phone. They take your phone away. And it was also this real triple threat of mind, body, spirit, energizing of you're getting up in the morning and doing yoga, and then you're doing business workshops, and then you're doing archery, and then you're doing, you have family dinners, you're sleeping in bunks with people, and there's this real sense of camaraderie and what can I do? What am I scared to do? I'm going to just try it, because there's this sense of fearlessness that you get at camp, that you should try anything. And the people that you meet there they're always lifelong friends, because you're put in such a weird situation of just exposing yourself.
You go through a lot that it takes a while to do that with someone you're a cubicle away from.
Exactly. Yeah.
You just don't experience much with them. Whereas you eat and you sleep and you sweat and you breathe together, you're going to bond. You're going to bond faster than you are when you're sort of just living in that sort of ships in the night kind of life.
Yeah.
So all that sounds great. I want to go. Now you think to yourself, tell me how you think this is something Nova Scotia could use.
Yeah.
Or did you just think of a lot of people at home that I wish they were here?
Yeah.
And how do I bring them? Wait, I can bring this to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I do that a lot. I'll be having a good time somewhere, and I'm how do I bring everybody? Oh, maybe I have to bring it back to them.
Yeah, I got the blessing of the organizer, the founder of that camp, to start it up in Nova Scotia, because as soon as I was done, I was like, you know what? All I have been getting since I've been home, or in California, and being away from home, is just the negativity of the results of what happened.
Right.
And I am not a negative person. I am a joyful person, and I am not going to stew in it. And so I was like, this would be something that I can do as an event producer. I know how to do this kind of thing. I produced conferences and shows, and just, I can do that side of things. But I really thought, if I can figure out how to get people to come and do this in Nova Scotia, I think it would have this amazing effect of not only getting out of our heads a little bit and into the woods, and just really start thinking high level about why we do what we do. But also, the greatest thing I love about camp in California was that it wasn't just creative people. There was, there was a firefighter, there was an astronomer, there was an engineer. The podcast I posted was an engineer from Rolls-Royce who'd come from the UK. And he had this amazing arc of experience where he came in and he was super embarrassed to just talk to anybody. And he was just, you know, he's like sort of smoking over in behind the main hall and just kind of avoiding contact with people. And then you can hear as the podcast goes on, just like how he's beginning to come out of his shell and like really get a sense of why this is valuable for him. And so that happened with so many people. And that knowledge sharing that happened between, you know, a person who does social media for Airbnb and the, you know, firefighter and the, you know, person who's a CEO, and like that sort of sharing that happened was so rich because nobody's higher than anybody else at camp. You're all sleeping in the same kind of bed. You're all very like integrated with one another. There's no sense of like, I'm better than you. You're wearing very casual clothing. All of that really like breaks down the social stratification that usually happens. And so that's what I'm aiming for at the camp. It's not actually just for creative people. It's for anybody, really anybody.
Are you seeking diversity in sort of the backgrounds, or is it?
Yeah.
How do you go about that?
It's challenging. It's probably the most challenging thing because, first of all, you have to explain what it is, and it's a new thing. And so most of these things, and you're right, there are really good examples of retreats and sort of like new agey conferences that are happening for specific groups of people. And I don't think, I'm not going to lie, I think in my first year it's going to be, you know, not as diverse as I want it to be. But I'm hoping what's going to happen is that the experience itself will, you know, sort of scatter out in the networks of people. So what I'm trying to do is the speakers that I'm gathering so far, I'm trying to grab from diverse disciplines at the very first. So I have already booked an engineer, an architect, theater actor, yoga instructor who's going to yoga.
That'd be a good T-shirt.
Yeah.
Yoga instructors are going to yoga.
And then, you know,
yogi's going to yoga.
Yoga's going to yoga. And then, you know, I'm working on a festival director and community activist. And then I have the conference manager who I hired is Marguerite Drescher of Brave Space, who does a ton of facilitation and has basically been a part of nearly every conference that's happened in the Nova Scotia in the last little while and abroad. And so they have her and her team have a really unique perspective about how people come together and discuss ideas and what's best suited for making ideas and action happen as a result. So I'm really, we're campifying all of the leaders' workshops so that it's very participatory, it's very hands-on, and it's meant to be, you know, like no tech. We're not going to do PowerPoints and anything like that. But it's meant to deliver the best of that person that we've brought there in an environment that is very accessible to the people who are there. So.